Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Key Time Sports. It's Key Time coming back to talk about last night's Game 2 Eastern Conference semifinals round between the Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Also, Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals round between the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, let me tell you, I saw something last night with the Cavaliers, and I pretty don't I really don't know what to say. But before I get into that, I am gonna get into these player statistics, where everything went wrong for the Cavaliers and how can they dig out of this hole that they are in, being down 2-0, going to Indiana for game 3, which is tomorrow night. Now the first starters for the Indiana Pacers are Pascal Siakam. He had 12 points last night. Aaron Naismith had 23 points last night. Miles Turner had 23 points. Andrew Nabar had 13 points. Tyrese Halliburton had 19 points. Bench production for the Pacers: Obi Toppin had 7. Jarris Walker, 0 points. Thomas Bryant, 0 points. TJ McConnell, 4 points. Benedict Mathurin, 19 points. Ben Shepherd, 0 points. James Johnson, Johnny Furphy, Tony Bradley all did not play because of coaches' decisions. Now, Indiana Pacers are is the most efficient offensive team in the NBA right now. And throughout the regular season, it has been the exact same way. Now, from what I saw last night, I mean, it was pretty much a rendition of game 1. Anybody and everybody on the Pacers was getting to the basket, was making 3-point shots. And that is why the Cavaliers, they are pretty much in this hole right now. So now I'm about to get into the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I'm going to be a minute with the Cleveland Cavaliers right here, because you got some players on the Cleveland Cavaliers last night that played out of their minds last night, and I didn't see this coming. I didn't see this in game 1. Dean Wade had 3 points. He played 30 minutes and had a plus minus of 5. So Jared Allen, like I've been saying, Jared Allen, he is going to be one of the kryptonites that the Cleveland Cavaliers have throughout this series. He had 22 points last night. He had a better game, but it was in the form of a loss. Donovan Mitchell had 48 points last night. Ty Jerome had 2 points. Matt Strus had 23 points. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, we had been saying all season that the Cleveland Cavaliers is going to face the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. But is it going to be a Eastern Conference Finals rematch from last year? Because we expect the Boston Celtics to take care of business tonight, and I'm going to be talking about that a little bit more on in the show. A little bit more on in the show, I'm going to talk about the Boston Celtics. But the Indiana Pacers, man, I'm going to tell y'all, first quarter, it didn't start out great. And at halftime, they only had 40 points. They only had 40 points at halftime. And then all of a sudden, it just seemed like, third quarter, fourth quarter, everything started to go the Indiana Pacers' way. Bench production for the Cleveland Cavaliers: Isaac Orko, 5 points. Sam Morrell, 14 points. Javonte Green, 0 points, excuse me. Craig Porter Jr., 2 points. So the Cleveland Cavaliers, outside of their their four-man rotation, they really don't have a scoring punch that can come off the bench like that and put up 20 to 25 points when you need it. See, with the Cavaliers, they have just been so used to their starting lineup, setting the tone for the game. But then when you have an opponent in the Indiana Pacers that their starting five and their bench players is just as dominant as their starting five, you gonna have trouble. Because when it comes to a second lineup of five players and they can be just as dominant as your starting five, that's when most teams have problems. Now the Cleveland Cavaliers, they have had problems that they have had lingering problems throughout the entirety of this season, but they wasn't playing up to competition like they are now against an Indiana Pacers team that when it comes to if you miss one assignment or one miscue here or there, the Indiana Pacers can make a team pay, and that's exactly what they did last night. Now, when you see these statistics from the Cavaliers players and the Indiana Pacer players. Now, what I'm gonna say is that I've been saying this over the last couple of days. Teams that take a 2-0 lead go on to win the series 84% of the time. Now, I'm going to give y'all some statistics from last night's game, and I'm going to tell you, most of these statistics are in favor of the Indiana Pacers. You can see it. Shooting percentage, 51% for the Indiana Pacers. Shooting percentage for the Cavaliers, 43.3%. Free throw percentage, 72% for the Indiana Pacers. 21 of 29, 85% for the Cavaliers. 30 of 35. Total rebounds, +1 for the Indiana Pacers. Offensive rebounds, +3 for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Defensive rebounds, +4 for the Indiana Pacers. Now, when we get to assists, we can see right here, assists, +4 for the Indiana Pacers. Steals, +4 for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Blocks, +4 for the Indiana Pacers. Now, this is critical right here. The turnovers. And both teams had a severe case of turnover-litis last night. But exactly the same amount of turnovers that the Indiana Pacers had in game one, they had the exact same amount in game two at 18. And the Cleveland Cavaliers had 13. But let me tell you, the Cleveland Cavaliers defensively, they have trouble defending players like Tyrese Halliburton. And then when you have Miles Turner, when he catches fire and start making shots out of nowhere, and he is very efficient from the court every game. Most games. Now you have problems on your hands. And then also, when it comes to, Tyrese Halliburton, that guy, he can always have a signature game if he want to. Now, last night, he didn't have a signature game. Only thing he had last night, he only had 19 points, and they all needed all of those 19 points. They did. But like I said, Indiana Pacers, they starting five is a balanced starting five. And you can see with the Cleveland Cavaliers, Cleveland Cavaliers, they don't have a balanced starting five because you have seen their starters last night. 3, 22, 48, 2, and 23. That is not going to get it on a consistent nightly basis, especially in a playoff series. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, their backs are against the wall right now because you are going into a hostile environment that the Pacers, they have not lost a postseason home game all playoffs. Every postseason game that the Pacers have won at home, they won by an average of 9 points or more. So the Cavaliers, they have the odds is stacked against them. Can they win game three? That's the only thing. If they don't win game three, then their season is over because there has never been a team that has came back from a 3-0 deficit in NBA playoff history. There is not anybody that has done that. And these Cleveland Cavaliers, let me tell you, I had trepidation about the Cleveland Cavaliers all throughout the season. Now what they did to the Miami Heat, that didn't that didn't interest me because I know that they was gonna slaughter the Miami Heat because the Miami Heat they got into the playoffs on the last day of the play-in tournament. So the Cleveland Cavaliers, we need to come to the realization that the Cleveland Cavaliers might not be one of them top-notch teams, and we might need to bring them down and put them on the bottom of the totem pole like a team, like one of those average teams. And they are an average team to me, but it just seems like I said, sometimes just the schedule. Some teams I'm gonna say this for about the Cavaliers. Some teams can benefit from their schedule from the regular season, and I believe that the Cavaliers they benefited from their schedule throughout the entirety of this season because when they started off the season they was 17-2 after 19 games. Then it was three times throughout this season where they went on a 10-game winning streak. To be exact, two of those winning streaks expanded to 15. So they haven't had much adversity, but this is the time where adversity is staring them right in the face. That's what this is. The Cleveland Cavaliers, I said this over the last couple of years, they done been knocking at the door. Let's see what they gonna do when adversity knocks at the door. Adversity is knocking at the door, and let me tell you, I can knock on wood. Let's see what the Cavaliers are going to do because adversity is already at the door. So let's see what the Cavaliers can do in game 3 and in game 4. And let's see if they can even up this series and shift this series back to Cleveland for a game 5. And then it'll be the best of 3 between the Pacers and the Cavaliers. I said that the Cavaliers would win this series in 6 games. Now, if they win the next 4 games, that will still be true. But it's tough going into Indiana and trying to win a game in the playoffs there. I can tell you, it's tough because I have seen a lot of teams try and go into that arena and try and win, and they don't have enough in the tank to win in Indiana. But this is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell, I don't know how much more efficient Donovan Mitchell needs to be in order for the Cavaliers to at least win game 3 because game 1, Donovan Mitchell had 33. Game 2, last night, Donovan Mitchell had 48. I mean, those starters, some of those starters, they are going to have to increase their level of play. I mean, every starter on the Cavaliers, they need to get at least 20 points to help out Donovan Mitchell, and they can wheel the Cavaliers to victory. And that's all I have for the Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The next game I'm going to cover is the Golden State Warriors and Minnesota Timberwolves. Now the Minnesota Timberwolves, they won versus the Lakers, and they had been waiting over the last 5-6 days to see who the winner was going to be of the Warriors Rockets series. Now we see the Warriors, they came in there last night, and let me tell you, the Golden State Warriors, they did what they were supposed to do, methodically shorten the game, and that's exactly what they did. And you could see all of the balance scoring between the Golden State Warrior players. You see Draymond Green with 18 points, Jimmy Butler with 20 points, Steph Curry, he didn't have a signature game, but he didn't need it because it was a defensive game. Steph Curry only had 13 points. Also, one thing that I can say is Buddy Hield, he had another outstanding game, just like he did in Game 7 of the previous series versus the Rockets. He had 24 last night. Brandon Potts and Skimmy had 3 points. And then you had contributions from the bench for the Warriors, excuse me. Jonathan Kuminga, 7 points. Kevon Looney, 2 points. Guy Santos, 0 points. Quentin Post, 0 points. Moses Moody, 8 points. Pat Spencer, 0 points. Moses Moody, Pat Spencer, 4 points. Braxton Key, Kevin Knox II, Trace Jackson Davis did not play because of coach's decision. Now let me shift on over to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now the Minnesota Timberwolves last night, they had somebody in Mike Conley that was out there for over 20 minutes and did not produce no type of value to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And you can see it right here. Mike Conley, 0 points. Julius Randle, 18 points. Jaden McDaniels, 12 points. Rudy Gobert, 9 points. Anthony Edwards, 23 points. Then you only had 2 contributors from their bench production. Nas Reed, 19 points. Dante DiVincenzo, 7 points. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 0 points. Terrence Shannon Jr., 0 points. Now let me tell y'all something about last night's game. Now I noticed the first quarter, I knew that this was going to be a game where it didn't even crack 100 points because I knew how the Warriors were going to play this. Now, I'm going to tell you, at the early start of the second quarter, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the score was 22-20 in favor of Golden State. Now, this is all going to measure up what I'm about to say in a few more seconds. The second quarter last night, the Minnesota Timberwolves didn't even put up 15 points in the second quarter. That is the lowest scoring quarter that the Minnesota Timberwolves have had all season with 11. Now you get to that point where it was pretty much a nip and tuck game throughout. You see where Golden State, and especially Steph Curry, he really didn't have the type of signature game that we are used to. He really didn't. He didn't have the type of signature game that we are used to. That's why Buddy Hield had a game where he cracked over 24 points last night. Steph Curry, Steph Curry only played 13 minutes in this game. So anytime a player of Steph Curry's caliber hasn't even played 20 minutes, only thing that you can use him for is a decoy, and that's where Buddy Hield come in. That's why I said Buddy Hield is an X factor for this series for the Golden State Warriors. Jimmy Butler, he is an X factor for this series for the Golden State Warriors. Also, let me tell y'all, Jonathan Kuminga, he is also an X factor for this series. Now, the Warriors, they don't have many contributions from their bench, but when they do get a contribution from their bench, it's always in the form of a victory. And now, game 2, I'm telling y'all this, the Minnesota Timberwolves are in the exact same situation that the OKC Thunder is going to be in if they lose tonight, that the Cleveland Cavaliers are in since they lost last night. And let me tell you, if the Boston Celtics lose game 2 tonight to the New York Knicks, they will be in the exact same situation that the Minnesota Timberwolves could possibly be in after tomorrow night if they lose game 2. Game 2, I've been saying this through the last couple of days. Teams that take a 2-game series lead in NBA playoff history win the playoff series 84% of the time. So, Minnesota, y'all got to buckle up, saddle up, do whatever y'all got to do. Make sure y'all ducks in order. Make sure Anthony Edwards is on his A's and B's. You got to pay attention to the X's and O's and the PSOs too. You got to pay attention to all of that because the Golden State Warriors, they are coming with the kitchen sink and they are about to be greedy and try and get game two in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities. And then after that, Golden State has game 3 and 4 on their home floor. So you know after that, if they win game, if the Golden State Warriors win game two, you already know that they thinking sweet because they got game 3 and game 4 in their crib, in their home, on their home floor. So so the Minnesota Timberwolves, between now you got, I'm gonna say you have another 19 hours before game two. Y'all need to be coming up with some X's and O's and PSOs, and y'all need to be coming up with some schematically. Y'all need to be coming up with some decoy plays because Anthony Edwards, he can't be the one that's always shooting 20 to 25 shots a game. Y'all need to have somebody outside of Anthony Edwards because Golden State, they emphasize neutralizing Anthony Edwards already before they even put on the tape in practice. They're gonna stop Anthony Edwards. So now that's all I got to say for the Golden State Warriors. Now, as of tonight's game, as of tonight's two games, we got the Knicks, New York Knicks, and the Boston Celtics, Denver Nuggets, and the OKC Thunder. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to shift on over to Instagram, and I'm going to be on Instagram for 20 to 25 minutes. So, the New York Knicks, let me tell you, yesterday, New York Knicks fans, they was oh my goodness, they was gloating because they won game one. I wake up this morning, somebody sent me something in my mentions about key time. You need to see this. Look at these New York Knicks fans acting like they done won the damn championship already, but they still got two other rounds to get to if they want to make it to the NBA Finals. And like I've been saying, I ain't going to bore y'all to death because I've been saying this same number all throughout the season when it comes to the New York Knicks. I've been saying 1973 because that's the last time that they won a championship. And let me tell y'all something. The Boston Celtics, they bet not mess around and lose game two. Oh my goodness, I already done heard enough from these New York Knicks fans. If you let the New York Knicks win game two in Boston and they got game 3 and 4 back in the Mecca, MSG, Madison Square Garden, I mean, you ain't gonna hear the last of these New York Knicks fans talking about sweet. They gonna be bringing out the brooms to game 3 and 4. But let's not let them do that. Boston Celtics, head coach of the Boston Celtics, Joe Mazzulla, you need to come up with something. You need to stop letting your players shoot all of these threes because game one, they shot 63s. Well, they attempted 63s and made 15 of them. Tell them that when the threes aren't going in, they need to pack it into the paint, get inside that 3-point line, get fouled, and score the 2 points the old-fashioned way. This is why it's just a 3-point lead. Now, me, I love taking 3-point shots, but after 2 tries, if my 3-point shot ain't going in, I'm gonna go into the paint and pack myself in the paint and try and be a more valuable scorer and shooter that way. But you got these guys on the Boston Celtics that it's just out their last 25 possessions between late third quarter and through overtime. 25 of those possessions, 19 of them possessions was threes, and none of them went in. So that's why I say being up by 20 points don't mean nothing no more because after 3, maybe 4 shots, a 20-point lead could be a 7-point lead in the matter of a blink of an eye. So I got the Celtics winning this series in 5. I am not wavering on this prediction at all. But the Celtics, handle your business before you go to MSG for game 3 on Friday. The next game I'm going to talk about, and the final game that I'm going to talk about, is the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, OKC is another team that I've been saying over the past couple of years haven't had any type of adversity. But now adversity has knocked at their front door. And now they pretty much are in the situation where if they go down 2-0, now remember, they haven't won in Denver all season. And if they go down 2-0 tonight, then you go on the road for game 3 and 4. And I already done told y'all what the percentage chance is of teams that are going, that take a 2-0 lead in a playoff series. So I'm not going to say that no more. But OKC Thunder, y'all got to get y'all stuff together. If y'all talking about becoming a championship team, having championship charisma and championship pedigree. This team hasn't even made it to the Western Conference Finals at all. The last time the Thunder made it to the Western Conference Finals was 2016, and that was 9 years ago, and it was a totally different era then. It was a totally different era. So now, tonight, Celtics and Thunder, y'all got to protect y'all home floor. Y'all got to even up the series tonight, because if y'all don't, there's a possibility that both of these series could end after game 4. That's all I got. And with that, that's all I got to say for tonight's upcoming playoff games and last night's reaction to the Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Warriors and Timberwolves. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell to get notified of all of my reaction videos, shows, and other content. We are also doing an expansion on YouTube right now. So please like, comment, share, follow, because there is plenty of content that in the next couple of months that I'm going to get into. We got football season coming up. We got the NBA finals coming up within a matter of weeks. We got the conference finals of the NBA playoffs coming up right at the end of this month. So please like, share, and follow Key Time Sports on YouTube, and like, share, and follow Key City Sports on Instagram. And now I am about to shift on over to Instagram. So don't go anywhere. Just shift on over to Instagram with me, so my Instagram audience, they can hear what I have to say about the 2 games that happened last night and the 2 series game 2s that are going to happen tonight between the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics and the Denver Nuggets and OKC Thunder. And remember, everybody, one last thing. The key is always on time.